welcome everyone to the regular scheduled Port Clinton City Council meeting on January 28th, 2025 in the Linda Hartlaub Chambers at Port Clinton City Hall. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent reflection for those protecting us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Beth Gilman.
Present.
Margaret Phillips.
Present.
Richard Morgan.
I am here.
Adrian Robinson.
Here.
Pat Hovis. Here. Jerry Trolley.
Present.
Kathy Cage. Here.
Thank you. Council, you previously received the January 14, 2025 regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Madam President, I move for approval of the minutes of January 14.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Good, too. Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Any discussion? I have a motion by Ms. Phillips, seconded by Mr. Robinson to approve the January 14, 2025 regular meeting minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Motion carries. The minutes are hereby adopted. Chair notes certification has been made regarding compliance with the rules and notifications of this meeting. Guest presentation tonight, we have Mr. Norgard from the Port Clinton City Lighthouse Conservancy.
Okay, for those of you who are new, the first of the year, I come and speak to the council, let you know what we've been doing, and I'll take any questions you might have. And then I'll also have a check to the mayor, which is part of our lease that we donate, not donate, but I don't know what you call it, a donation, whatever it is. Anyway, $2, which covers our lease for the lighthouse property. So, as president of the Port Clinton Lighthouse Conservancy, it's my pleasure to provide this annual update on our activities. The health of the Conservancy is good. The total amount in our various liquid accounts was over $50,000. Our rainy day fund, which per our agreement with the city covers any emergencies, and that's money basically that we don't touch. It's there if something should happen in the lighthouse or if something happens to us, then this would cover, you know, whatever the city wants to do at that point. And that is now grown to over $50,000. Our revenue stream is derived primarily from annual memberships, general donations, lighthouse tours, merchandise sales, and the occasional endowment. We also rely on grant money to help fund our Lighthouse Festival, grounds maintenance, and repairs. The sale of merchandise in the Keeper's House, online sales, and from our merchant partners in the community contributed almost $11,000 to our treasury. Our top selling item this past year was the Lighthouse Passport book. As of the end of the first of this year, we had 126 members or keepers, plus an additional 112 charter and lifetime members. Our major expenses are related to maintenance of the lighthouse and the boathouse, as well as groundskeeping and landscaping. Preserving a 128-year-old wooden structure that is constantly exposed to the elements and which was never designed to exist as long as it has is what presents a continuing challenge for us. And we're continuing to realize how this thing ages and so forth. And we did a lot of repairs this fall, and weather creeps into the little nooks and crannies of the lighthouse, and so we just have to learn to deal with that. We are committed to making our historic lighthouse accessible to the public. Our volunteer docents conducted 250 tours in 2024 and an equal number of free tours. In addition to providing free tours to our members and their families and children under 10, as well as many tours that were done for special groups and on request. So we don't do tours as a money-making venture. We charge a nominal fee just so that people feel like if there's some value to it, then they'll, it makes it more worthwhile to them. But we just love to have the Lighthouse be accessible. Last year we held our 7th annual Lighthouse and Maritime Festival, which was our most successful yet. Notably, was our first ever partnership with the United Way of Ottawa County for their incredible rubber duck race. Our thanks to Mayor Snyder for his support for that event. The United Way was excited about the success of the event, and they plan to join us again this year. Early last year, I was contacted by Louise Clemens Terry regarding the placement of a free library near the Lighthouse. This project was the brainchild of her granddaughter, Bella, as part of her high school community service project. The concept was for a flight theme honoring Harold Brown, and you go out there by the boathouse, you can see the little free library, and it's got Harold Brown's airplane on top of it. It looks really neat. And so we had a nice dedication ceremony, and the city officials were there. We've been talking to the city for some time about paving the Washington Street parking lot, and we are excited to learn that the Port Clinton Recreation Amenities Plan includes this needed upgrade to the Lighthouse area. We look forward to having input into the design of that parking area. The Lighthouse continues to be a major draw for folks visiting our community. Its history is Port Clinton's history, but I would also suggest that its future represents Port Clinton's future. That is why I respectfully ask you to consider the efficacy of changing the name of Waterworks Park to Lighthouse Park. There are generations now who are unaware of what a waterworks was or is, but if you say Lighthouse Park, they will know exactly what you're talking about. Just food for thought. Thank you. And so now I will present this check to you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for what your committee is doing for town.
Appreciate it.
I think one of my favorite spots right now is under that big tree on one of the picnic tables.
Awesome.
That Alex Thomas was instrumental in getting in there. Ate lunch there. It's just it's a neat spot. And for the record, the check is made out to the city, not me. So.
Okay, that's good. Good to know.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the city's support. Thanks everybody for your support.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Roger. You're more than welcome to stay, but if you would like to leave, we totally understand.
If you don't mind, I'll go ahead and take off.
Sure, no worries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update. Okay. Public comment? Sandy, do we have any public comment? Okay. Okay. Move on to executive officers' reports. There are 2 new ordinances. Ordinance 2-25 will not be assigned to a committee. Administration has asked that it be passed on its first read. Mr. Colston will talk about that during his time. Ordinance 3-25, this will not be assigned to a committee either. Administration has also asked that it be passed on its first read as time sensitive, and Mr. Belo will talk about that during his time. Additionally, council, under business from the floor, the 2025 rules of council are listed there, and if council so chooses at that time, can move to adopt them this evening. And that is all I have. We'll move on to the audit. We're going to flip the mayor and the auditor tonight. So, Mr. Belo.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the time. Council, pertaining to ordinance 325, this is authorizing the city to issue and advertise request for qualification for quotes for the urban forester, which is fully funded under the IRA urban forestry grant that the city was awarded. This was distributed to you last week. This is no new spending, it's just one future contract to be authorized at this time. And there was originally no request to expedite and consider and request that you approve it tonight. However, given movements in Washington, D.C., we would like to go ahead and get your approval here. And hopefully we can move forward with this uninterrupted. It's for an amount not to exceed $153,000 which would be fully funded out of the IRA grant of $975,000. So this was planned and necessary step in that process. I haven't answered any questions about that. We'll have to leave by approximately 6:30, so that's why they were gracious enough to let me go up front. Any comments or questions there?
I do.
Yes, sir.
This is a federal grant.
Yes.
Knowing that, from what I've read, most of all federal grants are put on hold.
Yeah.
Does that mean this one has been put on hold as well? I mean, nobody really knows, it's all just a guess.
Yeah, it's still really early. It's less than 24 hours in, but I can speak to that because I met with other members and have comments and questions. I know Mr. Robinson did, as well as others. Sorry. This is Kathy.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. All right.
The last name is escaping. Sorry.
It's right here.
What's mine?
6:15.
Yesterday it was revealed that the White House Office of Management and Budget initiated a freeze on all federal spending for federal financial assistance, not contracts, like contracts for services, but for financial assistance, grants, loans, and other financial instruments. This will qualify under that. There was an immediate court challenge in Washington, D.C., and it's the whole order, at least the freeze of it, I mean, no spending, has been halted until a whopping February 3rd at 5 p.m., Monday at 5 p.m., to figure things out. I think regardless, there'll be a review of all federal spending, which is called for in the original order, not just freezing. I think traditionally there's a review, but not a freeze, so there's two separate things. Yeah, so certainly it's at risk. This was funded out of the Inflation Reduction Act, or some people, including the President in the White House in Washington, D.C., like to call the Green New Deal, so of course it's at risk. We have an executed grant agreement, so does the prime grant recipient, American Forest, who's holding probably over, I don't know, $300 million of grants to be implemented as part of the program, and we're one of the sub-recipients. So we were contacted by them late this afternoon, just saying proceed with caution. What this is just authorizing us, through blessing, to issue RFQs for anybody who's interested. I hope someone's interested because it's a significant portion of project success in the overall urban forestry program that we hope to stand on. So yeah, it's a risk. Nothing should prevent you from passing this tonight.
No,
pretty please. Yeah, it's a risk. A lot of things are at risk, including other grants and financial assistance that the city's benefiting from. But it's so early, so if you give us a week or maybe two, hopefully we'll have more news, and hopefully all that news will be positive, Mr. Morgan. But we can't guarantee it, but we certainly hope it.
We never know.
Didn't the federal judge put an injunction on that?
Yeah, until Monday at 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay, I missed
Yeah.
you saying that, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, how many more, like, how many outstanding grants do we have that could be affected? Just curious, like, I mean, is this the 9 million for, like, the second part of flip?
Yes, grants, loans, and any other financial instruments. So the city's a recipient and on contract, I'll say, funds have been obligated. There's a grant agreement, loan agreement for, as you all approved, the USDA loan for water and sewer improvements, USDA loan for road-only improvements, US EPA, the earmark from Congresswoman Capter for $3.4 million for a water and sewer project, potentially Army Corps of Engineers, the Ohio Environmental Infrastructure Grant or financial assistance that we were awarded competitively. So all of those.
And the parks too, possibly, or no?
The active transportation thing, sure.
Yeah, this,
That's good.
yeah, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question, for the interest there.
Is that all you have, Missy?
Just a couple more things. The audit on fiscal year 2023 continues. Should be seeing that wrapped up probably in February, several months, I'll say behind schedule from last year, but the start time by the state auditors was different. I think everybody's answered questions. As far as I know, there's no outstanding comments or issues from everybody in this room. I would just remind everybody that I think every term there's essentially continuing education that you have to conduct online. It's relatively low burden, so please make sure you're up to date. Part of the testing that the state auditors do every year is evaluating and determining which elected officials have met all those requirements. So I think for 23 we were very good, and I believe we did an A+, but we'll see once we get the paperwork from the auditors and have an exit conference. So I'll keep you posted on that. I believe that's it. Is there anything else you want me to speak to before we go? Thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, members of council. Just want to wish everybody a happy new year. Obviously, I missed the first meeting, and we'll get into why I missed it, but not only happy new year for January 1st, but happy new year as today is the last day of the year of the dragon. At midnight, we become the year of the snake, for those that follow the lunar calendar. So, Shinan Kwai Gong Shi Fa Chai, which means happy new year and hope you get rich. That's the saying over in Taiwan. I would like to congratulate Team Jerry's Angels, which is Mr. Tiroli, his wife Natalie, Mrs. Hovis, and Miss Kathy.
Such a difficult name.
They participated in the Oak Harbor DECA fundraiser for the MS Society. It's the second year they've had a trivia contest. I know they didn't finish first. I also know they didn't finish last. And Mr. Trolley is happy that he beat his sister's team.
So, that's all that matters.
So with that, again, great worthy cause. I spent the evening, and Mrs. Gilman was there at the Bay Township Monte Carlo night. Council, I sent an email to all of you, so you're aware of this, but I want to make the internet aware that water bills that are going to be going out here in a day or so were all estimated because of the cold weather. They didn't want to open up pits. They didn't want to be out in the exposed elements. So again, it'll be an estimated water bill for most in the city. Adjustments will be made then the next go around. I have appointed Vicki Gresh. Many of you know Vicki to the Civil Service Commission. Vicki is a longtime resident of the community. She was a teacher at the high school. I didn't have her for math, but maybe some in this room had her for math. And likewise, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, City Council enacted the short-term rental ordinance. And with that, there was a Board of Appeals that is required. 3 individuals have been appointed to that. Steve Poulter, Brian Ball, and Renee Bolte Stein. And again, I think all of you in this room know those 3 individuals. Recently, in the past week, the city has conducted 2 interviews, one for the utility department and one for the fire chief. The decision has been made. Those individuals have been notified. We're just waiting on things to process before we make any official announcements. In the case of the fire chief, the Civil Service Commission needs to take some additional action, and at the appropriate time we'll announce that to everyone. As was mentioned a few moments ago when Mr. Vila made his presentation, executive orders of President Trump have placed the FLIP program in question at the moment because of the aforementioned federal loans and grants that were out there. Doug Nusser, who is our city special projects coordinator, first thing this morning was on the phone to all those folks, to Kleinfelder, the engineering company, to find out what's going on. And the answer he was getting is we don't have a clue. So again, it's still up in the air as to what's happening there. Now, you may recall at the last city council meeting, Mr. Colston, Ms. Shanker, and I were not in attendance. We were at a public hearing held by the US EPA out at Camp Perry. And folks, I want to be clear, the city of Port Clinton did nothing. The city of Port Clinton had really no role in this other than being the city of Port Clinton and having a permit for our wastewater treatment plant that was up for renewal. In the entire history of the relationship of the Ohio EPA, the city of Port Clinton, and the US EPA, there has never been anyone ever object to a permit for the wastewater treatment plant here in the city of Port Clinton. US EPA did make another objection to Euclid, Ohio several years ago, and it's all based on phosphorus discharge into Lake Erie. As it's been described to me by a couple of individuals, Port Clinton is Gettysburg. Gettysburg didn't ask for the Civil War to come to their front door. The North and South just happened to meet up in the small town of Gettysburg. Same thing with the Ohio EPA and US EPA. They just chose Port Clinton to have their battleground. Nothing we can do. This is all a decision at much higher levels than what we have. When they held their when US EPA held their public meeting in Euclid way back when, it took 2 years and 2 months for them to come out with their decision. And at that time, their decision was, we waive our right to object to Euclid's permit, and they were allowed to move forward. We also, at the same time, have a consent decree that was issued in 1999, hence the new wastewater treatment plant and so forth. In 2020, the council at that time took action requesting the US EPA eliminate that consent decree. All of the obligations from that consent decree had been fulfilled in 2017, so there was no reason, and still is no reason, for the US EPA to maintain that consent decree. What these two things are doing is prohibiting us as a city from taking any future plans. There's some discussion about some substantial manufacturing in the area that's going to need additional sewage capacity. It would rely on the city and other townships and other municipalities to kind of combine resources to make it happen. And we just can't move forward until these items are eliminated, because we don't know what our capacity levels will be. So with that, I know you've had time to digest some of this information. In the past, there was also an article in the Beacon about this whole issue. It's just a wait and see game right now. Nobody knows what's going on. The city hired outside counsel who specializes in this, helped the community of Euclid get through this, and it's just a wait and see game. Dina, is there anything you want to add to that briefly?
It was just a very positive meeting on behalf for the city. You know, the state EPA just gave praise to what Port Clinton is doing and how well we're doing it.
The director of the Ohio EPA, the director of the Ohio EPA and her head legal counsel was in the room.
So they gave nothing but praises to the city, and basically their beef is with the US EPA, basically trying to tell them what to do, and Port Clinton's just caught in the middle. There was a gentleman who spoke, I believe he's a professor, he said at the University of Toledo, and the way that he compared to what we're doing right now, how much little phosphorus we're putting into the lake, he said that if we took in the water that was already in the Portage River, took it into our facility, we'd have to clean it and put it back out to compare to what we're putting out. So we're putting barely anything in there. The amounts they want us to go to are just crazy low, and there were some flaws in what was done in order to get to their objection, and it was argued well by everyone. Everyone was on Port Clinton's side and sided with the state EPA. So we're looking forward to hopefully they'll back off and we'll be able to move forward. But it was a very productive meeting.
Thank you.
Mayor, is there other action coming from that? Like, I mean, is there a follow-up, like, when we might hear anything?
So what they need to do is there was, the meeting took place, then there was I can't remember the amount of days, but there were a set date for when people can submit written briefs or whatever they wanted to submit, statements, and then they would decide. Did they give us a date?
No, because again, it took 2 years and 2 months for Euclid to get their decision. With the written request, we met on a Tuesday, it was that Friday that all written requests needed to be submitted. So it's just a wait and see game. Nothing we can do, nothing we can't do, it's just wait.
I have a question.
I think I can add one additional piece to this. So there's, just like there's a spending freeze, there's also a regulatory freeze. So I believe the next step is to publish a final rule on the Port Clinton wastewater treatment plant matter. All of those are on hold as well. Those that have been prepared and sent to the Federal Register for publication, those that have not yet been, and those that are in the works to. So that might be one on the flip side. On the budgetary side, what might be a threat to us, that might be a positive for us when it comes to the regulatory.
The president said he wants to get rid of the EPA. Would that make this all go away? I mean, he can't do that. It's a Congress thing, but it doesn't matter. Apparently, he can do what he wants. You know, so, I mean, if he does that, will it go away?
Our attorney didn't have an answer to that, asking the same question.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows
what's
anything.
going on.
I don't, nobody
Yeah.
knows anything.
This is uncharted territory.
It's the way it should be. Nobody should know anything.
The reason Ohio EPA and US EPA are at odds here, Ohio was what's called a delegated state, which means a long time ago, US EPA delegated to Ohio EPA its regulatory authority over these regulatory water, and this is part of that included. So this is where US EPA is kind of jumping in and saying, we want to propose this rule change. And I've seen other instances in Ohio pertaining to some air permits and air issues, where the US and local or state is are at disagreements. The regulatory freeze or rollback, whatever you want to call it, whatever it may become of it, might resolve these particular problems.
And the decision is not going to just impact Port Clinton, it's going to impact the 700 and some sewage treatment plants around the state.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On to some more positive news, but this is difficult for me as a Kiwanian. I want to thank the Rotary Club for allowing me to speak at their meeting today at lunch. Two final positive news. Happy anniversary, Mr. Tiroli.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
What'd you say, 27?
23.
23 years. 23 years. Very good. And finally, go Bucks.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh, wait.
I
With that ends my presentation unless anyone has a question. Mr. Tiroli.
No, you covered everything. I had a bunch of questions, but you covered them all.
The treasurer's not with us this evening. Law director?
Thank you, Madam President. I do have things to talk about tonight, so we get started. So we have ordinance 2-25, and basically we took a look at chapter 139 and realized just how outdated it was. And it just does not conform with what the city is doing and what the city is looking to do. So we changed the necessary sections in order to make it conform. So like, for example, the first one is 139.11. Initially it says clothing allowance for the safety service director and the tax commissioner, instead of a clothing allowance for, we changed it for exempt employees. So if you're an exempt employee, you receive a clothing allowance now instead of just having two people, which they have been receiving, so we needed to catch that up. And then the second section, once again, it was restricted. So basically, we changed 139.12 compensatory time to include all full-time employees of the city who are not covered by a collective bargaining agreement, with the exception of Director of Safety and Service, Chief of Police, and Fire Chief shall be entitled to compensatory time off for all hours worked in excess of 8 hours per day or 40 hours per week. So we took out the narrow restrictions and we gave it to anyone who's not covered by the collective bargaining agreement. And then for the exempt employees, exempt employee benefits of 139.14, we included all of our departments as opposed to just some that were in there before. So now all of the exempt employees that receive the benefits are actually listed on there. The next C2 was a big one. For residency, initially it stated that all exempt employees, they need to reside in the city of Port Clinton. And not just limits, but as far as the Port Clinton School District goes. Well, we know that that is, especially for, non-elected officials, that's become an archaic concept, and a lot of our employees do not live within the school district limits, and have been very valuable employees. So we just amended that to make it conform with what the county's doing and what other counties and cities are doing. And basically now it states that all exempt employees shall reside in Ottawa County or any adjoining county. And the original section stated that they had 3 months, if you're a new employee, to move we just expanded that to 6 months, just with the housing market, how it is. It gives people just a little more time and flexibility to find a place to live in Ottawa County or in adjoining county. And then basically for non-exempt employee benefits, we cleaned up the mess that we had there with the different positions, and basically it states now that a non-exempt employee is any employee who is not classified as an exempt employee. So that basically would be the people who are covered under the collective bargaining agreement. So it's very clear, there's no confusion, and it's just important to pass this because it's just so outdated, and we need to have our ordinances reflect what the city is doing day to day. So that's that ordinance.
139.12, the compensatory time. I mean, are we giving them just straight time, or are we giving them time and a half off? Like, if I work, 12 hours overtime in a week, like, does that mean I get 12 hours off, or what does that mean?
So it's comp time. So it's not overtime.
Oh, okay.
You're not getting time and a half. You're just getting like hour. So let's say you work. Let's say your shift is 8 to 4, Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
But you worked from 8 to 8 one day. So you're going to get 4 hours of comp time, and that is time you can use to take off another day, just stay 4 hours early, and it would just be an even exchange.
No, I understand what it is. I guess like
She's asking is it
time and a half off, because that's what like I used to get this.
They've been using single time to answer your question.
Okay.
It's
They've
time
been
for
going for an
time.
hour. They have not
Time
been
for time.
using, we have not been using the time and a half.
Okay.
Kathy.
I have a question. The term exempt means exempt from collective bargaining. That's
Exempt
what
from
that-
overtime.
Okay.
Exempt from overtime.
overtime.
So on the flip side, non-exempt would be doing the overtime, would be doing the time and a half and getting the overtime.
So if the director of Parks, Recreation, Public Facilities does overtime, he'll get comp time for it, but Safety Assistant Director, Chief of Police and Fire will not.
Correct.
So if Tracy has to work 24 hours a day and we don't pay him.
I'm sitting here for free if that's what
Right.
you're asking.
Yeah.
That's bad.
You got
All
it.
right. Thank you.
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear.
Dina, how much is the clothing allowance? Like, is that
$750.
$750 for everybody?
Before it was like $250 for the other people.
Per year?
That was, the collective bargaining went that way. We got rid of the uniforms. Nothing got changed for these people. And back to Ms. Schenker, what she said, we lose 5 people right now if you stayed in the city of Port Clinton. And unfortunately, Sandy would be one of them. So, and 3 other supervisors out there would be out too. So that's why it has to be cleaned up. The state did change it for the non-exempt, so that's a law. We just, I guess we all thought that's the way it was changed, but it never got changed in the ordinance. So that's basically what we're doing. Ms. Schenker put it together very nicely. So.
And Beth, just to finish your question, so whatever the union gets for their clothing allowance, the city's gonna mirror that. Just so it's fair, because, they did away with uniforms for the union, but they still have to buy whatever they need.
Right.
And even like city employees, they have to buy, professional work attire, plus have it embroidered, and so it just makes it fair for everyone to just have the same amount for each person.
So they have to wear, I know everybody wears the City of Portland stuff, that's part of working here is you have to wear that, or is that just so everybody looks? I mean, everybody's always wearing City of Portland stuff when I see them. I
You
mean,
mean like what Sandy had?
yeah, everybody always has City of
It's
Portland
just the
stuff.
embroidering they get, so,
We have to pay for it.
Most of the time, yes, to answer your question.
yeah.
Not all the time, and then Fridays they can wear jeans and that kind of stuff too, so. Or your favorite sports team
Yeah,
or whatever.
That's not a personal choice.
Only if it's
To
Ohio
have your
State.
clothes embroidered.
No,
Only Ohio State, is that
no,
what I
no,
heard?
and the guys in the field, they have their hoodies, sometimes they put the heavy jacket on, might get covered up, but otherwise, yes, they have it. And they also always have a card in their pocket. with their ID.
Identification, right,
Absolutely, so yeah, we got it covered.
Dina, Ms. Schenker, you said we got rid of uniforms. You're not talking about police. We still have uniforms for them,
The
correct?
police still have uniforms.
And do they pay, do we buy them?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All
Well, they get a
They get a
clothing allowance.
clothing
They get a
allowance, too.
clothing allowance.
Right.
They purchase their own, but they get the clothing allowance.
Okay, that's what this, okay, that's what I was trying to get straight.
Yeah, the uniforms were for like the city, like the city, the street department,
Right.
you know, they had to wear certain,
We call Cintas.
yeah, syntax. They had to wear something that it didn't work for people, so, when the last time contracts were negotiated, they asked if they can, have the amount of how much those uniforms would cost, and just be able to purchase their own, you know, shirts. There's a list, there's specifications of what they need to, you know, purchase and what they could not wear. But at least this way, because nobody wanted to wear the uniform, so it makes it better, because now they're actually wearing something they want to wear, and it's the
No
same amount of
argument,
money.
no argument here.
So moving on from that, we had a very spirited conversation about recycling and trash pickup. And we met, well, not me, Mr. Colston met with Republic. They were disheartened that, you know, the city wanted to go out for bids, and we explained to them, you know, the things that weren't happening, and, you know, they, you know, then we said, you know, you guys, you know, we're supposed to do this, this, and this hasn't happened, and so, since we met with them, we noticed a lot of the things that were asked for them to do have been happening, you know, so basically, after Mr. Colston and I talked, and Mr. Colston spoke with Republic, this is a really, like, awkward time for them. If, like, let's say they do not get the bid to come and pick up all of their dumpsters and all of their trash cans, people who pay continuous billing for an entire year, it would be an awkward break. And so basically, what we proposed to Republic, they said that they almost positive they're going to do it, but we haven't gotten the okay. The final okay was we just proposed continuing until the end of the year with them, till December, the end of December, and then we would start fresh in January. So they can prove themselves, I guess, if, you know, they should continue. Regardless, they wouldn't have another extension, so it would still go out to bid. But this way, we can give notice to all the residents. We can have council, have some more time, and we can give whichever company wins the bid, we can give them adequate time to remove, you know, if it's not Republic, to remove, and then have the new company place, have all the billing set up, just get everything in order, and pay your bill every 3 months. So we plan to start this process in probably July or August of this year. Go out for bids very early, so everybody has at least 3 months. You know, we're hoping to change everything and figure it all out. And then that way, we'll see, you know, come 2026, we'll see who's ready to provide the city with what the city needs and wants. And so this way, we're not rushing it. It would be a bit of a rush right now. And this is the first time we've had one sole provider for the entire city, for single family and double families, so it would be a lot of containers to move and replace, and we just figured that it's winter, let's just kind of see it through and revisit it come July or August of this year. We're going to start the process. Yes.
The smaller trucks brought up at all, the damage to
Yeah.
the roads?
We did talk about that. We did, Mr. Colson can talk more about that. He did talk about that. This gives Republic some more time to work with what they can do. Oak Harbor has a provision in their ordinance which says basically there's like a $20,000 if you damage our roads, you have to pay us $20,000. But what Mr. Colston learned was it's incorporated in their rates. So it's one of the things where more information, more knowledge, more time. I know Cyclone was bought out by Rumpke. They're still in the process of transitioning everything over to Rumpke, and it's just give us a little bit of breathing room before we can make a good decision, because this decision isn't just for a year. It's going to be for the foreseeable future, and I think Mr. Colston definitely wants everybody to feel comfortable with what the city ultimately chooses.
I'm sorry, one more. This would be a closed contract. So like, let's say we approve Republic for ongoing, and I want to get another company. I'm not allowed to?
That's right, that's what's, it's
Because in the
like
past,
that.
I have seen other companies, but not in the last couple of years.
No, it's been like that. It was passed in 2019.
Okay.
When I when I started my elected position in 2020, we had Blake, we had Cyclone, we had Republic. People were like, who, what do you want me to do? So we started cracking down, and we are down to maybe one or two people who should have Republic that don't. And then there's also a question where we have, in the current ordinance, it states single family and duplexes. And then it states 4 family units and 5 family units. It doesn't talk about the triplexes. So we want to definitely discuss the triplexes of whether we want to group them in with single and double, so they would have to follow, like, for example, with that contractor, or if we want to group them with the multiple, which would put them in a business type category, commercial, where they can pick whoever they want. So that's another thing to talk about, because we have a few different triplexes in the city, and you can tell exactly who they are because they have Lake. And they put their trash out, to be picked up Wednesday morning, and they don't always bring their cans in. And so, I don't know when the last ordinance was drafted. I don't know why it was silent on triplexes, but we want to just get that covered as well. Which is another reason, just more time, more conversations, more research, just.
Has anyone ever tested the legality of that? I mean, like, let's say my brother-in-law ran a garbage company, do it for half the price of Republic. I'd be kind of ticked that I have to go to Republic.
Well, you also live in a city.
Right, and
So-
I know you are allowed to, we are allowed to make ordinances.
Yeah, the state.
To
We've
affect
gone
that.
through this.
Yes, pardon me?
We've gone through this one.
Yeah,
Well, I'm sorry, this is my
No.
first term.
No.
Right,
No.
Yeah, Jerry and Beth and Margaret, they were all here.
and it starts at a state level, and there is some benefit in some of the discussions we had, which were extensive. Say there is damage to the road, and we've got 4 trash companies.
I understand.
Nobody's gonna own up and.
I'm not necessarily it's a
No,
bad
I
thing.
agree
I'm
with
just
you.
wondering if we can legally do that, and we
Right,
can legally.
yeah,
do that.
and if the contract is up for bid and so-and-so can do it for half rate, have them bid on it. If they can provide the services and it's cheaper. But if this is something that seems viable and administration's happy with it, so the service we have right now is gonna continue as it is through till the end of the year?
So
No changes, or we're not gonna see any halts or no freezes?
No, but they'll probably, I told her to work on, for the next 1-year deal. It was bumped up some, obviously. So I said, tell me what it's gonna be for the end of the year, okay? And I went over all the things we're talking about. For me, I want people on Lee Avenue, brand new road. Let's put them in the street when you pick it up on a dead end road. I don't wanna do that on Fulton Street and stuff like that, obviously. And so we had that conversation. And I agree with her. As we look through the bid documents that were sent out before, she's got to make a heck of a lot of changes. This was not going to be a cut and paste when she got into it, with a lot of changes and a lot of different things. So they would be really rushed. It really would. And I think this buys us some time to do that. I put them on notice that we're going to follow and watch what you're doing, and I told them exclusively that we are probably going out to bid when it comes up, and we'll probably do it sometime out by August range.
get everything in place, and then we can move forward. Gives us some time to get everything covered.
My question follows what you just said, Mr. Colson. What weren't they doing that they were supposed to do?
They were riding the curb, for example. Their drivers, if you lived here and the next house was there, instead of coming out and going back to get it, they'd ride the curb.
Okay.
That's the weakest part of the road, we all know that.
Right.
So that's important. We talked to them about the Stubb Street, 7th, 8th, and 9th, about going down. They would go down,
And
then they would back up. Then they go down
Right.
the other side of the street and back up. That's how we recycle, so there's 4 trips.
Right.
That's why we talked about, if you remember some of the conversation, whether we're gonna do recycle or not, because that's 4 less trucks that would be
Right,
going down that
right,
road.
okay.
And so those are the kind of conversations that we've talked about. I told them, come up with some ideas too. You do this for a living. You know, these are things that I see and observe. We're gonna watch the roads, see if they get tore up, that kind of stuff. There is companies, I don't know how much less the weight is, probably not a tremendous, but some are now, and I know Rumpke's one of them, that has guy riding on the back and he dumps it in the
Right,
back,
right.
okay? Then obviously your price could go up a little bit because they're gonna have to dump more often and that type of stuff. So, you know, those are the kind of questions that we need to put in exactly what we want. The $20,000 she talked about would probably be something we wouldn't do, because the one contract that I saw, they had to pay for all the, like the spring and the fall cleanup. Those are probably $1,000 each on a dumpster with picking up, and so there's your $20,000
Right.
twice a year. So
Right.
that's the trade-off. That you're not gonna get them both, I'll tell you that.
Right.
But you could try it, see if somebody bids on
You
it.
could, but the bill would be higher.
The bill would go
Exactly.
higher, and it will be passed on to the customer. That,
course.
our job is, per what Richard said, we should be trying to get the best price we can for our community, which I think Republic is. We've
Right.
shopped around with others. There's some places, other towns, but for here, it's been a decent price.
Yep.
You know, they've gotten better with, when the garbage is windy and stuff's flying all over. I watch their drivers now, they get out and they pick that stuff up. Those are the kind of things I'm talking about, and not leaving the dumpster lay in the middle of the road, for example. Not the dumpster, but the
Right.
toter in the middle of the road, that kind of stuff. Those are the kind of things that we are talking about and trying to improve where we have now. That will give Ms. Shanker time to really go over that. I'd probably like to talk to Solid Waste District over there and have them take a look at what we're proposing out there and get all the, because rules and laws change, so let's make sure we have all that in there
Right.
instead of half, whatever, putting it out there. So I agree with her. I think it's the right thing to do. You guys have made a motion to move forward. We've started to move forward, coming back to ask if it's okay if we go to that. Now, I'm still waiting for a call from Republic, which I think we'll get. I think they will do it. Worst case scenario, they'd go to March. I don't want to do that. I want to end the end of the year, and let's get on the right cycle. That's where I stand. And to have our business for 10 more months, I would think we should be okay.
So Tracy, they haven't given us a price for the.
No, I have the price for the next 1 year contract. It was like $1.50 up or something a month, maybe.
Does that like carry us through December, or?
No, I don't know what it
March.
will do. I will find that out.
Okay.
If we would have signed, like in March, if we re-signed for 1 more year,
Right.
then it would be that price that I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
I'm asking them, what is it gonna be if we just go the 10 months or 3 months shy
Okay.
to see what it is, and I will pass that on when I get that, so.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I have one more question. I
Sure.
know this is too long on garbage, but in the town I used to live in, once a year, the garbage company, they had an unlimited pickup. Now, we're doing basically the same thing here by bringing it out to the Sutton Center.
Correct.
The nice thing about that was people didn't have a truck or whatever, and they were more tempted to do that. And I'm not even sure that's a thing anymore, but has that been up in the discussion at all?
No, so in the contract now, there's a price for pickup. So they can come to your house, all you gotta do is call them. They'll come, let's say a couch is $25, I'm just throwing out a number, I don't know.
It is, I just got rid of one.
And I do pay attention. But yes, you can call them up and they'll come to your house and pick it up. But you do pay for that extra
Right, I
service.
mean-
And we give the free one. I would think, I don't know, that's something we can talk about.
I mean, I'm not saying it's probably too expensive, but I just wonder, because it was great, because everybody took care of it, and scrappers loved it. They just drove up and down the street, got all the stuff, and they got rid of a lot more stuff because people, oh, it's 10 to 3 or whatever. Oh, there's gonna be a long line, I don't wanna go out there, I don't have a truck. You just take it to your front lawn, it was
Sure.
great. I'm not saying it's practical.
No, it's-
It would be nice.
It's
but-
doable that you pay for it on your own to get it out. So Otherwise, everybody in the city who doesn't do that would be paying for it. I'd be paying for you to pick their lawnmower up, follow me?
Well, yes.
Because it'd be in the rates.
But what I'm saying is right now, everybody pays for the dumpsters, the bins out here, whether they use them or not. I mean, it's part of the contract, so.
It's part
we
of
need
the
some
contract,
kind
when we
of
get it for free, we get all of our city dumpsters dumped for free. So it is what it is. I'm sure they, on the back end, got something in it.
Right, yeah.
But up front, no. And if you look at the prices from other communities, we're fine. We're fine right now. So
Right.
that's just a suggestion that her and I talked about making. And then you're right, Richard, that's enough on trash.
Also,
Right.
just one more point, Richard. One of the benefits is that, you know, since they have a city contract, you get a discount. And there is a discount because if Republic's on the open market, they can charge whatever they want.
Right.
So
Right.
we do have that benefit, and it's nice to know that the city, through going through this contract, can control what the trash is going to be.
No, I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
No, I just want to point out that's a
Fair
positive.
enough, fair enough.
And they do charge less for Brooklyn than Catawba, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, so like, you know, 'cause
Don't drop it.
well, 'cause my dad switched to like, so like,
The open market does change.
yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
And I would defer real quickly to Ms. Osama, because I know she's going to make a comment here.
Madam President, may I speak permission?
Yes.
In regards to the open market, I live in a community that does not have a contract, and with the current trash service that we have here in the city, they went from $70-some to $147 every 3 months. Needless to say, they are no longer my provider.
No.
So that's why we do the contracts and be exclusive, because that's the benefit we can get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's benefit on both sides, right? Because then they know that they have our
The guarantee.
And then just one final, I don't know if we've ever had this conversation or if we haven't, this update, but the Civil Service Commission, they upheld Ken Johnson's termination. So he appealed to Common Pleas Court. So that process will be started back up. It's in the form of an appellate process, so it's in the form of what the Court of Appeals would do. So hopefully the interpretation by the Common Pleas Court is the same as what I just said, but we'll see. But that's starting back up, so we're not quite done yet.
We're hiring a new one anyway.
Yes, because the Civil Service Commission upheld the termination.
I mean, court cases can go for years, so I
Yes, they
understand
can.
that, yes.
So that won't have any impact on our civil service decision, like we can still move forward with the fire chief and.
Right. Because, I mean, quite frankly, if for some reason the Common Pleas Court would reverse it, the city would turn over and appeal it to the Court of Appeals. So that can go on for,
A long time.
yeah. But the importance was the Civil Service Commission upheld the termination. So as far as that process, we're moving forward.
Okay. Thank you for the update.
That's it for me, Madam President.
Thank you.
For the record, she was longer than me.
I think the garbage.
Okay, thank you. Safety Service Director, Mr. Colson, do you have anything
No.
else?
Not those trash.
We're done.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Colson?
Yeah, we're good.
You're good? Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Jerry wants to
Chairman.
nominate. We'll move on to city staff reports. Mr. Chrisman, do you have anything to say?
Thank you, Madam President. This morning, I sent an email out to all elected officials and the department heads across the city administration, introducing everyone to the new website. The plan is to review everybody's input on the new website, make any necessary adjustments, do functional testing over the next month, and then prepare the website to go live at the beginning of March. I will have my schedule available to meet the needs of all of you. You can schedule time with me individually if you have quite a bit to share. If not, if you have little and you'd rather have a few council members come together and do a group session to kind of talk about it, that works too. I'll leave that up to you guys to coordinate. And any and all comments about anything format, stylistic, functionality, even general questions about why we have something the way that we have it, or what does this do, or what about this, send them to me. I'll try to be as responsive as I can. The goal is to have this finished within roughly the next 30 days so that we can have the new website ready at the beginning of March. That's all.
Okay. Move on to committee reports. Mrs. Hovis, Finance.
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Mr. Trolley, Environment and Public Works.
Nothing tonight, but I will speak with Mr. Colston to see if we need to have a meeting.
Okay. Safety Services, Ms. Phillips.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, we met this evening, had quite a good discussion, and what we came up with will probably be obvious at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Economic and Community Development, Ms. Gilman.
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Thank you. We have no correspondence. We're going to move on to readings of ordinances and resolutions. We have no third reading. We'll move on to second readings. Will the clerk please read by title and summary only, Resolution 25-2.
Excuse me, Resolution 25-2, a resolution authorizing sale of personal property by internet auction.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any action as to Resolution 25-2? Seeing none, Resolution 25-2 will move to its third reading at the next regular scheduled council meeting on February 11th, 2025. Move on to first readings. Will the clerk please read by title and summary only, Ordinance 2-25.
Ordinance number 2-25, an ordinance amending chapter 139 of the City of Port Clinton Codified Ordinances and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any action as to Ordinance 2-25?
Madam President,
Mr. Trolley?
make a motion that we waive the 3 required readings of ordinance 2-25.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Hovis. Any discussion? Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Trolley, seconded by Mrs. Hovis, to waive the 3 required readings as to Ordinance 2-25. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Richard Morgan.
Yes.
Margaret Phillips.
Yes.
Beth Gilman.
Yes.
Avery Robinson.
Yes.
Jerry Trolley.
Yes.
Kathy King.
Yes.
Pat Hovis. Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries by a vote of 7-0. Does council wish that 3 required readings are hereby waived? Does council wish to take any further action as to Ordinance 2-25?
Madam President,
Mr. Trolley?
to make a motion that we retain the emergency clause in ordinance 2-25.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hovis. Any discussion? We have a motion by Mr. Trolley, seconded by Mrs. Hovis, to retain the emergency clause as to Ordinance 2-25. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Avery Robinson.
Yes.
Kathy King.
Yes.
Beth Gilman.
Yes.
Margaret Phillips.
Yes.
Pat Hovis.
Yes.
Richard Morgan.
Yes.
Jerry Trolley.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries by a vote of 7-0. The emergency clause is hereby retained. Does council wish to take any further action as to Ordinance 2-25?
Madam President,
Mr. Trolley?
make a motion to adopt ordinance 2-25.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Any discussion? We have a motion by Mr. Trolley, second by Mrs. Hovis, to adopt Ordinance 2-25. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Beth Gilman.
Yes.
Margaret Phillips.
Yes.
Richard Morgan.
Yes.
Avery Robinson.
Yes.
Jerry Trolley.
Yes.
Pat Hovis.
Yes.
Kathy King.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries by a vote of 7-0. Ordinance 2-25 is hereby adopted. Will the clerk please read by title and summary only, Ordinance 3-25.
Ordinance number 3-25, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to advertise for qualifications and enter into a contract for urban forestry planning and management services and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any action as to Ordinance 3-25?
Madam President,
Mr. Trolley?
to make a motion that we waive the 3 required readings of ordinance 3-25.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hovis. Any discussion? We have a motion by Mr. Trolley, second by Mrs. Hovis, to waive the 3 required readings as to Ordinance 3-25. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Pat Hovis. Yes. Avery Robinson.
Yes.
Beth Gilman.
Yes.
Margaret Phillips.
Yes.
Kathy King.
Yes.
Jerry Trolley.
Yes.
Richard Morgan.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries by a vote of 7-0. The 3 required readings as to Ordinance 3-25 are hereby waived. Does council wish to take any further action as to Ordinance 3-25?
Madam President, to make a motion that we retain the emergency clause in ordinance 3-25.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hovis. Any discussion? I have a motion by Mr. Trolley, second by Mrs. Hovis, to retain the emergency clause as to ordinance 3-25. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Kathy King.
Yes.
Beth Gilman.
Yes.
Margaret Phillips.
Yes.
Jerry Trolley.
Yes.
Richard Morgan.
Yes.
Pat Hovis.
Yes.
Avery Robinson.
Thank you. Motion carries by a vote of 7-0. The emergency clause is hereby retained as to ordinance 3-25. Does council wish to take any further action as to ordinance 3-25?
Madam President, make a motion to adopt ordinance 3-25.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Hovis. Any discussion? I have a motion by Mr. Trolley, second by Mrs. Hovis, to adopt ordinance 3-25. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Sherry Trolley.
Yes.
Kathy King.
Yes.
Beth Gilman.
Yes.
Avery Robinson. Pat Hovis.
Yes.
Margaret Phillips.
Yes.
Richard Morgan.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries by a vote of 7-0. Ordinance 3-25 is hereby adopted. We'll move on to business from the floor. Council, previously you were emailed, and there's also a copy on your table tonight, the 2025 rules of council. Does council wish to take any action on the rules of council this evening?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the rules of council adopted January 28, 2025.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Trolley, second by Mrs. Hovis, to adopt the proposed 2025 rules of council. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. The rules of council are adopted, and once again, I will be appointing Mrs. Gilman as the president pro tem. So, we'll move on to other business. Mr. Morgan.
I got three. It'll be very quickly. First of all, if any of you lost a tire and the wheel, there was one out in front of my house right in the middle of the street. I rolled it up in the neighbor's yard across the street because nobody lives there. It's still sitting there. So I lost that. That's number one. Number two, I've got a quick look at the website and not, but one thing I did like right away when you go to council, there's the ward map. Thank you. That makes so much sense. I haven't looked at the rest. Third thing, I know it isn't necessarily up to us, but I agree with Mr. Norgard. We all know it is Waterworks Park, but people out of town don't. And the Lighthouse is a draw for this place. I went to their banquet, and it was kind of interesting. And, you know, it's, to me, it makes sense. But, you know, it's not up to us. It's whatever it's up to. I'm just putting my 2 cents worth in. So thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Do you know the address across the street from you? Or what's your address?
Well, it would be there is no house there.
Okay.
But it would be 412,
400 block.
yeah,
Okay.
or 411, yeah. Right.
Thank you. I'll get the crew out there.
Might be yours, Mike. Fall off the back
I
of
was
your-
trying to.
Well, it could have fallen, I assume it fell out of a truck or something, you know. So.
Mr. Robinson. Thank you.
Thank you, Ned. I also was at the banquet or the luncheon or whatever for the Lighthouse. And yes, it is very obvious that it is a Lighthouse Park now. I know the address was off. It was a reason why we didn't want to do it that particular time. The Lighthouse is the most positive around here, the most popular, except for the one on Lakeside or Marblehead. And it is a draw. So maybe we should just go ahead and let them encourage it somehow, as long as they keep bringing money in. I read their spreadsheets. I thought, my God, they're doing okay, considering when we first looked at it, it was a beat-up building. That lighthouse was just a beat-up building in a boat storage out at Rams. Yeah, and I think they've done an awful lot, and they are an active group. And it was just really a nice group, nice evening, nice afternoon. I mean, definitely worth it. I did see you there. You were really enjoying your life.
Yes. As far as changing the name, that would have to be,
Big.
that would have to be voted on by
Yeah,
the city.
that's what they said.
So, yeah.
They know it.
So
They
that's-
were wondering if it would have to go for election or election time where you would vote.
They'd have to
out there.
consult an attorney or talk to Board of Elections.
It's okay. It's not gonna happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it does in the long run. But I remember when the building was there, that was the Waterworks building. We used to go there and pay our bills.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mrs. Ennis.
I got to go to the ALS trivia, as you know. It was fun, and Kathy King was amazing with her trivia knowledge.
If she only knew the right answers.
Oh,
Sherry did.
Yeah.
I think I got us more points than you, Sherry
Yeah,
did.
it was fun. It was a really good night. Got to see Roseanne. So it was a really good night. So, and that's it, man.
Thank you, Mr. Trolley.
Yeah, but I can't remember what it was, so anyway, I would like to publicly say happy anniversary. Anyway, yeah, just be safe out there.
Okay,
That's all I
thank you, Mrs. King.
Well, happy anniversary.
Well, thank you.
And next year, I'm gonna keep track of who gets more points when we do this. I mean, you may get more votes, but we're gonna talk about who gets more points next year.
I just want to give kudos to the tree commission in the city with all the windstorms we've had and these 50-mile-per-hour gusts, the branches not falling down. I mean, yeah, that's all I'll say about it. The city has weathered some of the weather we've had pretty good. And happy Groundhog Day to everybody. That's coming up. That's the biggest holiday that I got before the next council meeting. So
I do have something. I see they moved some big equipment in by the post office and on 3rd Street by the railroad tracks, so everybody keep your eyes open. It looks like it's gonna start pretty quick.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of people comment on the size of those water mains, that's a lot of pressure. They're like, that's sewer. No, it's water. It says it right on the blue pipe, water main,
Yeah.
you know, in the map. So that's a pretty big project, so.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing, Madam President.
Seeing no further business, I want to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Councilman President, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mrs. King. I have a motion by Ms. Phillips, second by Mrs. King to adjourn. All in favor? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Thank you, we're adjourned.